Hey folks, moving on. Looks like we're in 2.3, number 166. We have C equals pi d, circumference equals pi times diameter. Solve for the specified variable, solve for pi. So they want pi alone. So there's pi right there. We're trying to get pi alone. It's currently being multiplied by d. So let's divide both sides by d. And now pi is alone, so you may want to write pi is just c over d. Okay, that's not bad. 172. It says, same game, a equals 1/2 d1 d2. So those are little subscripts, the d1 d2, and they want us to solve for d2. So they want us to solve for that guy. Okay, so we need to get rid of the d1 and we need to get rid of the 1/2. Ooh, let's get rid of the 1/2. So you might be thinking right now it's multiplied like that, which it is. So you're like, oh, it's being multiplied by 1/2. Let me divide both sides by 1/2. And that would work, but tell me if this makes sense. If I want to get rid of 1/2, rather than dividing by 1/2, what if I multiply the right side by 2 and I multiply the left side by 2? So as long as I do the same thing to both sides, you see how that's going to make this, the 2 and the 1/2 are just going to cancel each other out? Aha. So I don't really want to divide by a fraction, is my point. So let me rewrite what we have now. 2a is equal to d1, d2. We're trying to get d2 alone. So we're basically there. Divide both sides by d1. Boom. And there's d2. We're done. Okay, let's try and save some paper. That was 172. 174. I'll start skipping around in a few, but these ones get a little tricky. We have a equals 1/2 h b1 plus b2. And in 174, they want us to solve for b2. And now it's right there. Okay. So before I focus on what's in the parentheses, I want to get rid of that 1/2 and that h. Oh, why don't we do that trick that we did in the previous problem? So rather than divide both sides by 1/2, what if I multiply both sides by 2? Does that even look good? Multiply both sides by 2. That got ugly. So the right side became 2a, right? 2 times a. And then the 2's cancel here on the... the left side became 2a. And then the right side, those 2's cancel, so we just have h b1 plus b2. Okay, things got a little sloppy, but hopefully you followed along. So in the very beginning, I just multiplied both sides by 2 in order to get rid of that 1/2. So the left side became 2a, the right side becomes this. Now let's get rid of that h. Okay, so we have 2a over h is equal to... And then since the b1 plus b2 in parentheses is alone, I guess I don't really need to write the parentheses. Aha. Remember, we're trying to get b2 alone, so we just need to get rid of that b1. So subtract b1 from both sides. And just be careful, the left side is 2a over h minus b1 equal to b2. Aha. And then I would look in the back of the book, and they might have cleaned it up more, but that seems good. Maybe make that h look more like an h. Okay. That was 174. So that was a good problem. Make sure you're cool with that. So the rest of those, it's the same game when you're solving for that letter. Solve for the letter. Those are all pretty straightforward. So then, it's the same game. I'll do 184, but the last problem was more interesting. 9x plus y equals 13, and they want us to solve for y. Okay, so I usually just point at y. It's right there. Okay, I want to get it alone, so let's get rid of that 9x. Minus 9x, minus 9x. So the left side is just y, and then the right side is 13 minus 9x. So remember, we want to have descending order, so you kind of want to have the x stuff before the number stuff. So you might want to write 13 minus 9x. That's cool. Tell me if you're okay with this. Negative 9x, right? And that's a positive 13. So that's probably how the back of the book would have the answer, because it's in descending order. X stuff, then number stuff. Make sure you're cool with that. So if you have 13 minus 9x, is it wrong? No, just looks weird. Put it in descending order. Okay. So those are all pretty straightforward. And then we get to some triangle stuff. 196. A triangular window has an area equal to 24 square feet. 24 feet squared, square feet. And a height of 6. H equals 6. What is the base? Okay. So I guess there's a triangle. Let's read it again. A triangular window, okay, has an area of 24 square feet and a height of 6 feet. What is its base? Okay. So if we're just to draw the triangle in general, probably looks something like that. So it has a height. How tall is that triangle? So put a little square right there to indicate it's going perpendicular. And it's the height of 6. And then the base, we don't know how big the base is. We'll call that B for base. And then the total area is 24. So we know the formula is area equals 1/2 base times height. And so the area, it said was 24, is equal to 1/2. We're trying to figure out the base B, and the height was 6. Okay, so you see how once we plug everything in, now it's kind of like the problems we were doing. Let's solve for B. Ooh, there's that 1/2. So I'm going to do that trick again. I don't feel like dividing by 1/2, so I'm just going to multiply both sides by 2. So multiply this side by 2, multiply this side by 2. I wish I would have saved some room so it would look better, but 2 times 24, that's 48, equals, those 2's cancel, B times 6. I put a little dot there. See, I didn't have it there. You don't need it. I didn't need it there. But sometimes you just put it there to remind yourself it is multiply. Get B alone, divide by 6, divide by 6. And so 48 over 6 is 8. And so the base B is equal to 8. 8 what? 8 feet. Okay. That was 196. 198. No, that's a height area. 200. 200. 200. It's talking about the angles. So if you have a triangle, all you need to remember is triangle, that angle, that angle, that angle. The 3 angles always add up to 180 degrees. And if you take a geometry class, you can prove that. But for right now, let's just believe it. If you have any triangle whatsoever, if you add up the 3 angles, they're going to add up to 180 degrees. Okay. So problem number 200 says the measure of the smallest angle of a right triangle is 20 degrees less than the measure of the next larger angle. Find the measure of all 3 angles. What the? The measure of the smallest angle. Oh, right triangle. Ha 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 ha. I didn't notice the word right. So right triangle means right angle 90 degrees. Okay. So because I didn't see, my brain didn't recognize the word right, I was like, wait, how are we going to do this? But since they said it's a right angle, then they basically tell us that's a 90 degrees angle. Right angle, 90 degrees. Okay, so this is like the smaller one, the bigger one will say. The measure of the smaller angle of a right triangle is 20 degrees less than the measure of the next larger. 20 degrees less. Okay, so this one, these types of problems are just practice, practice, practice. It's 20 degrees less than the measure of the next larger angle. So if I call this angle X right here, then this one would have to be 20 degrees less than this one. X minus 20. Aha. Okay. So, well, if the angles add up to 180, so you could just say this plus this plus this is 180. So let's just do that. 90 plus X minus 20 plus X equals 180. And you should be able to solve that pretty easily. So if I get rid of the 90 right away, minus 90, minus 90, add the 2 x's. So 2x minus 20 is equal to 90. 2x is equal to, add 20 to both sides, 110. divide both sides by 2. We have, just bringing this up here, 2x equals 110. Divide both sides by 2. X equals 55 degrees. So this angle x right here that I labeled as x, this must be 55 degrees. And then this one over here is 20 left, so 55 minus 20. 55 minus 20, calculator, is 35. So 35 degrees. Put a little degree symbol, I guess, make it look nice. So 35 degrees, 55 degrees. So you could have saved yourself a few seconds. In the very beginning, we had a right triangle. So if you have any triangle, the 3 angles add up to 180. So if it's a right triangle, which means that's 90, you could just say, oh, so those other 2 guys have to add up to 90, right? Because 90 plus 90 is 180. Cool. Okay. Moving on. Let us try number 204. 204. They give us a picture. Let's see. Right triangle, 12, 16. Find the length of the hypotenuse. So the hypotenuse, so if you have a right triangle, so there's the right angle, touch the right angle, across from the right angle, that side is called the hypotenuse. Okay, so these guys next to the right angle are called the legs. So the legs and then the hypotenuse. So right angle is touching the 2 legs, and then across from the right angle is the hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is always going to be the longest side of a right triangle. And they also, if you did the reading, or you remember from the past, if you call the legs A and B usually, and then the hypotenuse is C, then we have that famous Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Okay, so let's just call this C for no good reason other than just makes sense. So let's just go 16 squared plus 12 squared equals c squared. And then get your calculator out. 16 squared, I think it's 256. Let's see, x squared, woohoo, 256 plus 144 is equal to c squared. So add 144. So 400 is equal to c squared. We're trying to get c. We're trying to figure out c, not c squared, so we have to take the square root. So square root both sides. So the square root of c squared is just c. And the square root of 400 is, ask your calculator, 20. Ta-da! Okay, so then, so that's when they want the hypotenuse. A little bit later, like in 208, they give us a picture. 8:17. You see how they actually gave us the hypotenuse? They give us one leg and a hypotenuse, and they want us to find the other leg. Okay. So do you want to call it A or B? Doesn't matter. Let's just call it A. You could call it X. Nothing matters. So the legs, see, A squared plus B squared, leg squared plus leg squared equals hypotenuse squared. H squared plus A squared equals hypotenuse squared. Throw it in your calculator. 64 plus A squared equals 17 squared, I think is... Calculator, thank you, 289. We're trying to get A, which means we need to get A squared alone, so let's subtract 64, subtract 64. A squared is equal to, let's see, minus 64, 225. So we're back kind of like at this step. We have A squared, but we need A, so let's square root both sides. So that means A is equal to, so take the square root of that answer. And we get 15. Ta-da! Okay. Let's see what else we have going on in this section. Straightforward, straightforward. Okay, 216. Let me make sure I'm actually recording this. Hello? Hello? Oh my god, wait. I never hit record? Oh no, I did record. Oh my god, I scared myself. Okay. Whew. Did I cuss? If I cussed, I apologize. Okay. 216. Whew. Heart attack. Okay, find the length of a 216. The length of a rectangle is 8 feet more than the width. The perimeter is 60. Find the length and the width. So if you have a rectangle, so it's got 4 right angles, we usually say the longer side is a length, the shorter side is the width. So the perimeter is how far is it if you walk around the whole rectangle. So the perimeter, you could say, is if you start here, a length plus a width plus a length plus a width, length plus width plus length plus width. And then someone would say, oh, you mean it's just 2 lengths plus 2 widths? And you'd say, yeah, I agree. Okay, 216. The length of a rectangle is 8 feet more than the width. Here's my rectangle. The length, the longer one, is 8 feet more than the width. So if I call the width W, then the length is 8 feet more. W plus 8. Aha. So that means this is W, and this is W plus 8. And they say the perimeter is 60. Find the length and width. So the W plus 8 plus the W plus the W plus 8 plus the W should add up to 60. So if you use this formula, so you could just do it, visually. So W plus 8 plus W plus W plus 8 plus W must add up to 60, and then you solve it. Or if you use this formula, you would say the perimeter, which is 60, is equal to 2 lengths, but we agreed that the length is going to be W plus 8, plus 2 widths. So you see how we're doing the same thing. Either you kind of visualize it and write things down piece by piece, or you kind of accept the formula and save yourself 12 seconds. Whichever way makes more sense to you. 60 equals, distribute this guy, 2W plus 16 plus 2W. Combine like terms. 4W plus 16 equals 60. Get the W's alone. Subtract 16. Subtract 16. 4W is equal to 60 minus 16. I should be able to do that in my head. 44, but I used a calculator. Get W alone. It's being multiplied by 4, so divide by 4. And so W is equal to 11, and it looks prettier if you put the variable on the left side. Okay, so the width is 11, and then the length is 8 more, so 11 plus 8 must be 19. So what does the question say? The length of a rectangle is 8 feet more than the width. The perimeter is 60. Find the length and the width. There's your width. There's your length. So sometimes, just be careful when you do these problems. So like right now, you're like, okay, cool, I got the answer. Like maybe you just stopped at 11. But then the problem says, what's the width and the length? So they want 2 answers. And every once in a while, they'll get really tricky. They might give you this whole problem and then say, what's the area? So they might just keep asking weird questions. Area, by the way, I think we know is just length times width. They didn't ask that, but if they did. Perimeter. Okay, let's try 226, and then I think we'll be good. Need a new piece of paper for that. 226. 226. One side of a triangle is 3 times the smaller side. The third side is 3 feet more than the shorter side. The perimeter is 13. Find the lengths of all 3 sides. The perimeter is 13. Perimeter is 13. So if you have a triangle, the perimeter is just walking around it. So if I add up this side, and that side, it needs to add up to 13. Okay. They want us to find the length of all 3 sides. Okay, so you just have to keep rereading it like 10 million times. One side of a triangle is 3 times the smallest side. You want to just call this the smallest side S? Smallest side S. So if that's a small side, one side, which one is 226? One side of a triangle is 3 times the smallest side. So if that's the smallest side, this one is 3 times the smallest side. The other side, the third side, is 5 feet more than the shortest, smallest side. The other side, the third side, is 5 feet more than the shortest side. 5 feet more. So reread it and make sure you're cool with this. One side of a triangle, number 226. One side of a triangle is 3 times the smallest side. Okay. The third side is, 3 feet more. Ugh. You were probably yelling at your computer as I was doing this. 3 feet more. See how I always double check? You draw your picture, you think it's good, you double check. Maybe I did, yeah, I totally did that on purpose to make sure you were paying attention. 226. One side of a triangle is 3 times the smaller side. The third side is 3 feet more than the shortest side. Perimeter is 13. Okay, cool. So now just add the 3 sides up and it needs to be 13. S plus 3S plus S plus 3 equals 13. S, 3S, 1S, that's 5 of them. Plus a 3 equals 13. Subtract 3, subtract 3. So that's going to give us 5S equal to 13 minus 3 is 10. Those canceled. S's look like 5s. Ugh, maybe it's my font. Divide by 5, divide by 5. S equal to. Okay. So this side is S, so this is 2. This is 3 times S, so 3 times this. 3 times 2 is 6. And this is S plus 3, so 2 plus 3 is 5. Ta-da! So 2, 5, and 6 are the answers. Okay. I think everything else should be pretty manageable. We'll pause right there, and then I will move on to 2.4. Oh, you folks are going to love 2.4, mixture problems. Everybody loves mixture problems, especially you. Okay.